Let's just do that last leg of the form. Let's face this way. Do the crescent kick, jump kick. Crescent kick, move the foot in, circle, kick, trap. There's a back fist, so come through the center, remove, punch. Change directions, sliding step, palm, palm, scoop, press, kick, punch, dragon, reverse, sliding step, punch, turn, salute, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Deep breathing again. So what's the common movement in the first form? Zane, what's the common movement in the first form? Common meaning something that happens a lot. Anybody? Squat down. That happens a few times. Okay, so removing is what I was looking for. So we have uppercut, remove. Double palm, remove. Back fist, remove. Right, so that must be something that's an important strategy in the form. And there's one other removal in the form that only happens once. Matt, you know which one that is? No. Anybody? Woody? There's a removal that's different from the other ones. That's it, right? So there's a high one. So what are we doing with these movements is actually learning to take something away. So if he grabs my wrist and I turn the hand, I put my hand here, I'm removing. So this is the position. So you can get there from an uppercut. Get there from a back fist. Okay, so those are two directions, right? And then you have this one, and it's essentially the same thing. If he takes my hand, I can close it and then use that removal as the technique. So that's something that we get familiar with. Now, when the hand is like this, which is the drunken fist movement, when I'm here and I put my hand under here, then I do that and then turn to a punch. So the removal is actually controlling the arm that's actually attacking you or grabbing you. So that gives you, this relationship between the right and left sides. So practicing that, all you do is have to kind of put your forearm on your hand on your forearm and kind of just slide it off. So the other thing that happens is when we pull back and we bring the other hand forward, do we have an action similar to that in any of our forms? So I'm just trying you to get familiar with action and movement. So if we do this, what happens when we do this? Yoki? What happens when you do this as an action, not just that it's removing? Wenshi? What happens when we do this? Arnie? You're right. Yeah, you're pulling back. Equal opposite, right? So when do we do equal opposite movements? Here, here, and here. So when you strike out and this pulls back, that's equal and opposite. When we go like this, it's equal and opposite. So the motion is something our body starts to get familiar with. So it's doing this. How about this? That's also removing, but this removing is similar to chun kill. So those movements draw, and the elbow ends up like this, right? So in 5 stances, we have this, and it turns into a punch. In the first form, we have this, turns into an elbow, right? So you can see when we draw back, and when we chun kill, this draws to here and turns to a punch. So you have a transition that goes from the frontal direction to a side direction, or the drawback becomes this, and we elbow. So if your body gets familiar with the movement, then eventually, it responds better. So that's what we have to. That's building coordination. Now, what happens to the legs when we go into a removal position? Zane, what happens? Right, we go into a back stance, right, or a cat stance. So what's essential in the sitting back? Arnie, what happens when we sit back? Yeah, it goes on the back leg, and then what do you have to do? What do we have to do after it gets back there? Yeah, you did it. You did what you were supposed to do. Yeah, put it into words. Yeah, okay. So we have to sink. Yeah. So when we get into a position and we bend the knees, that's called sinking. So when we get into a cat stance, as we sit back, we have to sink. So we have to sit. So sinking is sitting. So once we sit, what happens? Your body weight goes down, right? When we sit down now, our body weight goes down because we relax. And when we sit, we create a force downward. So not only do we sit back, we have to create a force downward. So that's why we have to sit into this stance. Because the force of sitting and the hand movement together creates a force downward, which is where the strength comes from to make it effective. So you sit. Now if you listen, if you can hear that. If I do this, what do you hear? You hear kind of a stroking, but because there's that means that there's a bit of force, pressure going like this. It's not just this hand here and you're moving it. So when you create that sound, you hear it? So you do the same thing. Then when you do this, when you sit, the sound and the sink goes together. And then we step up. Then we turn to punch. All right, so let's all try that just to see. So we're going to create the forward position, the back step, the sink in the stance with the sound. Then we step forward and twist, right? So we're up in the uppercut position. Let's switch it to a back fist. Switch it to a palm. So those are all the same. Now here. Forearm. Sit back. Pull this foot back. And sit. So did you hear anything? Yeah, so you have to, Yoki, you have to move a little faster. We create the sound from moving fast. If you go slow, you're not going to hear it. So move a little faster. See? Good. So Zane, you see how the sinking and that goes together? Now step forward. Okay, twist and punch. Okay, so the speed of the punch is really tied to the twist. So the faster you turn, the faster the punch will come out. So let's go up. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's how we should execute. So as you progress in your sort of execution, the sequential part of it should be memorized, and then the execution is what's going to change the form. So let's just do half a dozen of those, half dozen 6. So here, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So we should be pretty familiar with that movement. So that's how you should do it in your form once you've memorized the sequence. Okay, so another combination of movements we have is the suspended horse. Right? So first we have to get into a stance. This hand goes to here. So let's point it to the corner. And let's drop it like this. So that's your block. So when we're here and we shift the weight to this leg and bring this foot to here, twist the body slightly so your fist points to the corner and drop. Okay, so you sink in the stance and this hand stays up. Okay, so those are all the combination of things that have to happen. So let's do it again. Ready? Punch. Okay, move the leg, plant your foot, aim the body, drop. Okay, so that's how we should execute that. Ready? 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, so the timing and the movement should be 1, 2. Okay, the hand is here, foot and hand. 1, 2. Okay, so this is one thing that we just so you understand it. If you go like this and you move the hand to here, then this distance to here isn't going to cut the angle off of the motion, because you actually leave yourself exposed too long here. So the block is not going to be as effective as if it comes from here. You see, so you can intercept someone's punch or leg easier. So if I'm here, and he punches or kicks, if I go like this, I'm exposed too long, right? So you would want to cut the angle off like this if you were actually using it as a technique. So the speed and timing really is tied to distance. If the distance is too long, then the movement's going to be too slow. So to compensate for the distance, I drop here. But I don't want to just drop here. I want to move away. So when it comes here, then like that. You see, so that's, sort of how we should, understand the technique for efficiency of movement and timing. So that's something that, as you progress, will become part of your execution. So once we're here, what do? We go into horse stance and turn and turn. Then we sit back, and here's where we drop. Here's where we step forward, and here's the same punch. The only thing is this hand comes down. Okay. So if we break it down in those, little bits, you can see how every time we set up our body, we have to twist it. You learned that already from here. But we didn't actually pay attention to it because we just think that's part of 5 stances. But it's part of our practice and training, so the body starts to recognize how the movement should be. So it's really, the more you understand how these techniques work, the objective will be a little bit different. Because right now, sometimes we're just going through the movements, and we don't understand how important it is to connect the hands with the legs with the hands, and the body and the rest of it. Because, what connects my hands to the legs is actually this. If this doesn't tie into the movement, then we're not going to be able to coordinate it. So that's drunken fist, right? So we'll try that again. So it's a series. 1, 2, 3. Those are the 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So ultimately, that's all you have to do is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When you're learning it, you have to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But once you start to understand where the hands go, then you have to pull it all together. So that's, evolving. So again, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Don't forget to sink. Step, punch. Okay, now, don't throw a punch out like this. That's not a punch. That's a placement, right? Okay, Matt, let's see you do it. Matthew, ready? Do the drunken fist. Ready? From here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, good. And the other hand's here. So the more you do it, the faster you can do it. Right? The more you do it, faster you can do it. It's just getting familiar with it. And the faster you do it doesn't mean it should be sloppy. It has to be precise and accurate. So when you do a movement, you're here. When you're here, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So then you have timing. So if you go into these tournaments to do your forms, that helps a lot in scoring. Because, you know, Eric will tell you, he's a judge. If you go out there and he sees you throwing a punch like that, and you're doing it like that, he's not going to pay attention to it. Because he just says, okay, that goes on the bottom tier. If you go out there and you're like this, you know, you're like this, he says, okay. Then he says, okay, this person has something that I want to see. And then the scores go up. So let's just give you a sample. For performances, it's the same. Like a lot of the kids are doing these international shows. If you perform with that kind of what we call the spirit, then it's going to heighten the interest when people watch. Okay, so next, I'm just going to go through the first form so that these characteristics are in every form that you've learned, as far as, you know, the way you should be executed. So here, uppercut. Okay, that's the same uppercut that we have throughout the form. Now this is the sliding step. So we learn a sliding step like this. That's just from the horse stance. But if you're in a leaning stance or a suspended stance, then your sliding step is this. And then it ends up there. So between this and this is two transitions. There's one in the forward stance, leaning, that's your big step. So every big step you take, the back foot, you see how my back foot kind of follows it? It doesn't go, and then this does this. It actually follows. So if you noticed in the stance, if I go like this, I haven't completed this. So that takes you back into the leaning stance. And then you turn to the horse, right? So when we do uppercut, we have to take the step. But what do? We withdraw the arm. So the uppercut goes 1, then the step goes with this. And we know from here, what do? That. So uppercut sliding step is that transition. So let's go. Ready? 1, 2. Okay. Ready? 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay. So the more you do it, the faster it gets. The timing improves, and the consistency of the leaning to horse and your torso movements become great. Because we actually kind of wire our body to do these movements. But if we're always doing this, what happens? That's what your body thinks it's supposed to be doing. So we want to get out of that mode and get into this mode. Okay, so let's try it. Ready? Uppercut. 1. Slide. 2. So the difference between this, and this is it doesn't have this on the sliding step one. It's this. Okay. So this is okay. So there's a sort of a interim position. When I go like this, right? You see my hands open a little, then they close up to here. Okay, uppercut. 1, 2. So when you're working on this, if you slow it down to see what's happening in between the movements, the transition in between, then you start to build some other actions. So when we're here and I do this, I relax my arms. Then I turn. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, let's try it again. So I did it fast so that to see the execution. But if you try to copy that, the body doesn't follow correctly, right? So you have to slow it down. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Right. Let's do that again, right? So okay, do it again, then I'll point out some things that's missing so that you can be aware of it. Because if you're aware of it, then you kind of try to alter the motion. Ready? Uppercut, sliding step. Uppercut, sliding step. Uppercut, sliding step. Uppercut, sliding step. Okay, let's step back. So a lot of these things are just tips. When we do an uppercut, and when we slow it down to take that next step, you don't see this right away, but when I'm here and I go like this, my weight went to my back leg. So I'm here. That's what you need to get your step forward. Some of us are doing it already, but we didn't really understand it as a concept. So we go like this. 1. When I did this, that split second to get that front foot forward was a weight shift. So you can't shift your weight if your legs are stiff. So the agility of footwork comes from 1, 2, 3, 4. So in the legs, you actually went through those different stages of your transition. So, a lot of things that you do, like you do skateboarding, right? So a lot of the transitions you do comes from your experience. Like if you're standing and your foot's in the wrong place and your weight's in the wrong place, things don't happen the way it's supposed to. But when you go through it in slow motion, you say, oh, this is what's going on. So, okay, let's go like this. Ready again? 1, 2. So let's get that little bit of sit back. 1, 1, 1, 2. Now see what happens if you go to that relaxed phase. The relaxed stage of the movement is here. If you relax, then you can punch. If you go like this and you're tight, it doesn't come out. Why? Because you have resistance in your body. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Inhale. So the double palm strike, let's do that. So when we're here, we actually typically would be down here, up, and then we're here. Okay, so cutting hand, you want to spread. Now here's that step. Here's the palm. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So what the punch is all the same. Every punch that we have to this horse stance is the same. So all we have to do is learn this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have the sliding step, which is the same throughout. Cutting hand is a different position to here. Waist, step, palm. Okay. So I just saw something that happened that you shouldn't do. When you go like this and you cut the hand, don't let the hands go, because when you get to here, cross hand position, and here you're stable. Now see that the stance goes down. Step, hold this, because from there is where the hands come out. So if you drop your hands, then where does it start from? You lost your starting position. So the consistency of those postures has to be connected, linked together. So you build tremendous coordination and understanding of the body mechanics. So when we're here, 1. Okay, let's try it again. 1, Again, 1, and relax and sink. Cut. So you cut, feel like you're sinking again. 1, 2. And then we remove. 1, 2. Okay. So that brings us through to the next thing. We're going to do the elbow. We know this from 5 stances we draw. Okay, this is what we have to relax this hand. Relax. Don't do this. We pushed out and let it go. Relax. Turn the hand like this. Bring the elbow to your hand by twisting. So you should do this. Okay, so it's a horizontal stroke. It goes from here to here. From here to here. Now when the students progress to yellow belt, they start to learn these sequential drills. So the elbow exercise is one of them. But basically at this level, you have 3 elbows, right? You have an elbow that goes like this. You have an elbow that goes like this. And you have an elbow that goes like this. Okay? If you add the 4th one, that goes like this. That's your rolling elbow. So that's as far as we need to go in this stage. So you hear 1, 2, 3, 4. Elbow up, elbow out, elbow back, elbow to the front. So this is right where the nose is shoulder height. So you say, why are those important? Because when the elbow goes up, that's how you go up and down. When the elbow goes out like this, that's how you poke with the elbow, and the elbow rolls like this. That's called the rolling elbow. So you have that in this, in the first form. When you get to the second form, you have this. So what we're looking for is the position from the movement. So that movement, this elbow position, you already know it, but we didn't pay attention to it because we do it like this. Right? So we don't pay attention to that. Now when we go like this, or go like this, we only see the punch. We don't see the elbow. So when the hands work together like drawing, if you don't control your elbow in a direction behind you, then we don't have the connection. So here you have elbow up, elbow out, elbow back to the front. 4 movements. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you learn those 4 elbow and just practice it, if you do it over time, then it becomes pretty comfortable to get your hands to do this. And then when you do the next series of movements that have something like this, then you're already familiar. Because everything that we do, because we're creatures of habit, we have to do them over and over again until the body starts to recognize it. And the hand goes like this, you chun kill. You're like this or like this, right? So let's do that. Ready? From here. 1, draw. But what do we have to do? We have to twist our back. The hand is here. Then we have to turn to the horse stance. Then we have to unleash the elbow. Then there's the corner back fist that we know, and the palm strike. Okay? So here, 1, 2. Now between this and this, we have to have equal opposite, right? So the elbow, right, Matt? If we're here and we're here, what do we have to do? We have to pull this elbow back and then push this hand out. Now when the body gets comfortable with that motion, you no longer have to pull the elbow back. The elbow comes back as a function of your transition. 1, 2, 3. Because I turn, the elbow appears to be going backwards. So that's something that just happens, naturally if you're just practicing it. So let's try that elbow again. Ready? From here. Typically we're in this position, then we step to here. Draw to here. Elbow. Back fist. Palm. So turn and connect. Okay. So, you know, in all stages of your development, it's the same concept. Doesn't matter. It just improves over time. Okay, we shake that out. Deep breathing. Ready? So those ideas, concepts are in every form. Just that I use the first form because you're so familiar with it. Now we're going to do the whole form. I didn't get to the end, but we'll go, you know, through that form with the things that we just went over to see if you can recall any of it. If you can't, then what do you have to do? You have to practice the things that we just did as a piece. And then insert it back into the sequence, and your approach to the blue belt level will be closer. Or if you're in the blue belt level, you should have it, and then you move to the yellow. Okay, ready? Eric, you want to take them through it? Okay, this first form, yeah, fully engaged with the same ideas. Go. Yep. Okay, good. So just remember, emphasize the punch at the end of every one of those groupings of movements so that you're going to get used to throwing a good punch. Because when you move into the other forms, the same thing's got to happen. So instead of having to relearn it in each form, that specific motion, you already have it. And then some of the other things, you know, will improve. Sequentially, obviously, it's different. So we're going to move on to second form. And we're going to, one of the things that's common in the first form and the second form, I brought that up the other day, is what? It's this series of movement. Right? 1, 2, 3. So this, and this is in the second form. Right? Now this is also in the second form. But essentially, it's the same kick. So it's important to have that mini series, that kicking series in. So what's the option? I'm here. If I kick, I'm going to step forward. If I'm here, if I kick, I step backwards. So you either step backward or forward. But we make it into something that's so different and so complicated that it's like I have to relearn this whole thing. But it's really essentially the same thing. And you realize as you progress through the forms, a lot of the common movements, if you capture the positioning early on, you don't have to relearn every single thing. So that's how we can improve and evolve a little faster. So let's go to this. Okay, Chun Kyo punch. Diagonal strike. Lift. Stay with us, Yogi. Yeah, elbow. Dragon. So that's the first series of movements that she should know, right? So here, Chun Kyo. Ready? Yogi. Have her. So you learn it slowly. Ready? 1, 2. Face this way. Face it. Look in the mirror. Now, what's the first thing we have to do to set up for the next movement? This. then we have to step through. Stay in the stance and drop. From here we go back, reverse the movement, then drop your elbow, then turn the dragon. Okay, so those 4 movements grouped together is actually a drill. If you do that, all of those movements from here to here to here to here becomes programmed into your movements. I do this to set up and then step, right? So here, 1, 2, 3. There's your setup for this. So from here, all you just drop this elbow. See how this hand moves? And see how this hand moves? You turn. Then we come through center and reverse the movement and then go down to elbow and dragon. Yeah. Okay, so those 4 movements. So Paul, you want to take her and just work on that over there? Yeah. Learn those 4 movements. Because really forms are just pieces put together. Now this form, as we improve on this timing, it becomes a complete step through, where the hand and the legs move together. So some of you already know the form, but change your timing. So let's try again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so what's important is your final position. Hold the dragon like this. Bend the wrist. So in the second one, we have some positioning that we have to fix. Okay, so you're here, right? In front of the face. Yeah. All the fingers like this. So that's the same in the first form. Yeah, you want to fix the hands. Okay, so this, remember, in front of the face by the elbow. Leaning stance. Yeah, leaning stance. Okay. Okay. Where's the dragon? Oh, you're working with her? Okay. So, step back. Chun kill. Punch. Step forward. Turn. Lift. Elbow. Dragon. Set it up. Step back. Sliding step. Punch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then it continues. That's sequential memory. You know, once you memorize the form, then we go back and fix all of these, you know, little nuances that become part of timing. So when we in the dragon, we know this from where? We know this from there. We know this from here. So from the dragon to the reverse stance is it's a standard maneuver. So they all, by improving that timing, becomes second nature. So if we're here and we step back and we punch and we continue on to this and this and this and this, that's the next series of movement. But where you're going to get confused is that when we do this, what happens next, right? So if we practice it long enough, that to that, we'll have a transition that's very specific to the form or to whatever's happening. So if I'm here, what are some of the options? I could do this, right? I could do this. I could do this. I could do this, right? So then it becomes something that you would, you know, draw off of based on your experience and knowing what to do. But that's how we learn. That's how we program these movements. Now, if you're using the form for competition, you have to work the sequence specifically for that grouping so you don't forget it. Because when you're nervous, you'll get confused. So let's try that again. So I'm going through these groupings so that after you've gotten through second forms, you can practice them, you know, sort of in these pieces and improve the timing. So what do we have after this? We have this. 1, 2, 3. Turn. Palm. Now here's that kick. Scoop, press, kick, hold. Jump back. Thrust. Down. Open. Chop. Okay? So we're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Kick and hold. Jump back. Thrust. Sink down. Lift up. Chop. Then we have 2 movements. 1, 2, 3. So that's, if we combine those 2 groups of movements, we have the 2 sequences on that side. So if you practice those groupings like that, then you'll change the form. All right, ready? Dragon. 2, 3, 4, 5. Scoop, press, kick, jump back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2. Come on. Oh, Woody. Don't lose the position. These positions, why I say don't lose the position, is because that's muscle memory. Okay. So the more ingrained in your system that position is, the more consistent it's going to be there. All right, next. Shake it out. Let's put all those 2 sections together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Okay, good. So that's done. That's the 2 sides. So the next section that's a little confusing, most of the butterflies. Right? So we're here. Let's face that side. So this is the first transition. 1. Okay, again. Now we know it's going to go there, but what do we do with the legs? 1, 2. So you have to move this front leg, your back leg to the front. 1, 2. And now this hand goes here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Okay, so when we first learn it, we go through the sort of the, the facsimile of the motion, but actually there's a kind of a timing thing that you have to get into your stance and you sweep. Step up. This is like your cutting hand. This is like your middle block. Between this and this, we set up our shoulder and then push. Oh, wait, hold that position again. Saying, get back in. Your hands are opposite. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. So that's the breakdown. When we combine it, let's do it together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Leaning stance. 1, 2, 3, 4. Horse. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So the butterfly is actually pretty good. So we're here. This is the step that you need to work on. 1, 2. Let's do it again. Ready? Shift. Step. Make a circle here. 1, 2, 3. Leaning, body, like that. Close, cross the arms, fix the cross arm position. So here. Then 1, 2, 3. Step again. 1, 2, 3. Step. 1, 2. Step. 1, 2. Okay. So one thing is leaning the horse, horse to leaning. When I'm here, I essentially go to something like a leaning stance where the weight is here. Then it goes to horse. From here to here. From here to here. Step. 1, 2. So your legs have to work like this. So you alternate, leaning the horse, horse to leaning. Okay, let's try that again. Ready? Uppercut. Oh, from here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2. Yeah. Then eventually your body recognizes the transition. So, a lot of things happening when you move your body like this. So it is, it gets more complex, but that's how you improve the movement. So you got that, Cal? Okay, let's try that butterfly again. From here. 1, 2, step. Step, horse, not quite here. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And then we turn. Chop. Adjust. Elbow. Strike down. Back fist. Sword finger. Turn. Step. Open first. Roll. So when we're here, right, this crosses over. We're in this corner. Relax the arms. Turn the body. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Okay. Breathing. So you can see, there's a lot of nuances in every one of the forms you learn. So you sort of have to go back and relearn forms. So even though you know the sequence, we try to improve the execution. So if the stuff that we just worked on is not what you're doing, then it should kind of heighten your awareness. And then try to add it into your movements, and things will change. All right, ready? We'll bow out. Okay, ready? Up. And 3, salute.